Hello, welcome to the stream. It's another beautiful Sunday, and we're here doing some Gleam. So we've been on this journey going through the book Essentials of Compilation, and we got through five. We completed 5 chapters, which is pretty awesome. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. I know we did a little break. I think it was between chapters 3 and 4. And or maybe it was between 4 and 5, and we took a break to add a front end to our compiler because the book does not cover lexical analysis and syntactic analysis. It only covers semantic analysis down to code generation. So we needed a front end. Well, now we're going to add another front end, and it's not really going to be a front end in the traditional sense, but I thought it would be neat to have something a bit more interactive, to do a little fun project, and also maybe make a way that I could share all of this with you without you having to install anything. Like you wouldn't have to install Gleam, you wouldn't have to install the Erlang VM, and then we could, have something to play around with together. So what I want to do is I want to let's see. So my plan is to make something like a compiler explorer, and just to, if you're not familiar with what this is, so here, this is a C++ compiler explorer, and let me see if I can bump up the text size so you can see what's going on here. There's also the Rust playground, which you may be familiar with if you've used Rust for anything. And basically, what they're showing here, and this is a very sophisticated one. I think our first one will be very basic, because there's a lot of things in our compiler that we don't have. But you can also note here that you can pick all sorts of languages as your input. And let's see. Yeah. There's a ton of stuff here. But what the essence of it is that you type something in the source language, and then you can view the output assembly. And just out of curiosity, I saw there was Erlang in there. Let's try Erlang. Okay, so here's an example, and this is by the way, Beam assembly. So it actually doesn't look that different from it's basically Erlang data. There's a bunch of tuples, and you can see how this function square gets turned into this function here, and it calls this built-in function star, and it takes x0 and x0 and puts the result in x0. So this is interestingly, like when I originally thought about doing this project, I was like, oh gosh, we should compile to Beam assembly, because we love running things on the Beam. But given that the book is about x86 assembly, let's see if they have Rust in here. I know they have their own playground. Yeah, here's Rust. Let's use a Rust example. So you can see here that they are targeting. Let's see, that's what. So that's Rust. Okay, but it's not letting me choose what the output is. This is. I'm not sure if this is a portable assembly or not. Oh, look at that! Isn't that neat? Okay, so this is x86. It looks like 32-bit because, well, they've got EAX and they've got RAX, and I don't know. They're not using the same instructions that we are. But regardless, this this sort of thing is what we want to build, and we're going to do what we can in Gleam. So with that in mind, if you want to follow along, remember, here's the repository, and I've got my editor up, and this is stuff from last time, but we're going to tweak a bunch of stuff. And let's look at Lustre. So Lustre is a front end for a front end framework. Framework is a bit heavy. It's a tool for building web user interfaces in Gleam, and it kind of follows the Elm style. So if you've ever used Elm, the language, to write anything, or if you have used, say, for example, early this year we did some stuff with Ratatouille. I think it has a similar idea. There's also Bubble Tea in Golang has this idea of your UI is basically a set of functions, and the framework manages propagating changes to your UI. So you define messages, which these are like the events, the things that would cause your user interface to change what it looks like or change its state. You have an update function, which takes a message and decides what to do with the underlying model. So like you could think of this, if you were used React, you could think of it like a reducer. Or if you've used Redux especially, you could think of it like a reducer. You're taking a message that's coming in, and you're updating the state of the application. And then your view just takes the model, so like the state of your application, and generates the markup for it. And of course you have an init function, which is, what is the initial state of your app. So this one is, the typical click plus or minus and increment or decrement. And Lustre has functions for creating HTML elements. So here it's a div, these are the attributes, and here's the children, and button, and so forth. And the attributes, here's an onClick attribute. And you note here that this onClick is a function from Lustre event, and it takes an instance of our message. So when you attach event handlers, you don't attach a function in the same sense that you would in JavaScript. Even in React, you would attach a callback of some sort. In this, your only callback is to send the message for that event. So that can get really nice in that it kind of forces you into that Redux style in a way. Or you could say the Elm style, where you are just emitting events when something happens, and then that event is, in the parlance of this, it's a message, and that message gets handled by the update function, which then changes the state of the app, and then you re-render. Okay, so they say Lustre is an opinionated framework for building small to medium-sized web apps. Okay, so we're going to go through some of these steps. We're going to add Gleam, or we have Gleam. We're going to add Lustre, and we're going to add Lustre Dev Tools, and we're going to have to make some tweaks. So let's get in here, and let's go ahead and close others. So we're gonna have to change our main function here, but we're gonna leave it and probably we're gonna probably just comment it out. But the main things that we need to deal with here is, let's add Lustre. Okay, and we're gonna add Lustre Dev Tools, as I suggest in the README. Okay, so we've got these. Now we need to do another step. So by default, Gleam builds projects for Erlang. we want to build an app we can run in the browser, we have to add a target field. So let's go ahead and add that to our Gleam TOML. JavaScript. Now we may also be able to build build our app for both targets. Lustre has server-side rendering as well as front-end, as well as client-side rendering. So so we can do, let me see, server-side rendering. So if we added, you know, these things, if we added mist, which is the Gleam web server, we could serve our app through that. I'm not really interested in doing that because we basically just have one page. There's no routes per se. So we need to just see if we can get this to build first before we worry about server-side rendering. But let's look back at the quick start guide. Okay, so we're gonna change our main, and we're gonna have, now this is an issue. It's gonna say that this doesn't have an implementation for JavaScript. So we're gonna have to, you know, at least fake an implementation of that. And we may take that opportunity to, you know, reorganize some of our stuff. And also this, the CFG doesn't have an implementation for JavaScript, so we're gonna have to fix that. But that's something that I've been thinking about for quite a while, so we'll take care of that. In the meantime, let's fix this. So we're going to comment out our main function. We're going to make a new one. And let's basically just do this. And I think we're going to have a problem building. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and so that we can, let's see about that. Can we do that? Okay, no, it's still complaining about our runtime. So which is interesting because what we'll want to do with our runtime is provide a function that we could, in addition to showing the output of the compiler, we could also perhaps run an application in interpreted mode, so like interpret the high level language. That would be really good. But for now we've got to resolve this particular issue. Not that. We want this. So we need a JavaScript. And I think we're going to need to look at an example for this. So let's look at the language tour. I think that there's, is it advanced features? Externals, yeah. Okay, so we basically do similar similar things to what we would do in Erlang, except it's a file name rather than a module name. Okay, so let's go. Let's go runtime ffi.mjs and read int is the function, and then we'll make that file. Oops. Yeah, it'll be in there. Runtime ffi.mjs, Okay, we'll say export function read int. And for now, this doesn't need to do anything. I think that we will want some way to hook into this from our UI. Like have a text box that gets enabled and focused when read is called, and then you type in it and hit enter, something like that. That's kind of a complicated interaction, but we could potentially do that. For now, I'm going to just have it return 0 because there's really no way to do this on the web in the same way that you could do it with, say, Node.js. So I'm not going to pretend for now. But we have that binding, so let's see if we can run. Okay, so now we don't have this. So let's make another file, cfg.ffi.mjs, and we need to add all the targets here. So JavaScript cfg.ffi.mjs, and we're just going to do basically this stuff over and over. Oops. Add vertex. Add edge. In neighbors. Out neighbors. Okay, let's look at... Right, so this is what we're running into. If a function doesn't have an implementation for the currently compiled for target, then compile will return an error. Right, I/O and concurrency works differently. Okay, so I think that's yeah, we're not doing that per se. So we just need to get this the problem is new is a reserve word, so yeah, let's go back up here and say new CFG. Yeah. And I'm gonna stub out the rest of the callbacks, and we'll figure out. Oh, okay. It was weird. It was scrolling for me. Okay, so we have new CFG. We need add vertex, add edge, in neighbors. Okay. Add vertex. We need add edge. We need in neighbors. And we need out neighbors. And I think that's everything. Yep. Okay. So we don't have to implement these yet. We're just trying to get it compiled for JavaScript. Okay, so now we're actually running. And let's go. Okay, so we've got, you can't see it there very easily, but we've got our hello world that we put in our app. Now it's also listening, so we can, let's look at the priv static directory just out of curiosity. Okay, so they generated an HTML file. We'll probably want to add tailwind so we can style this thing. But you know, it's very, very basic. The neat thing about this is we can have it build, and then we can slurp the files into, say, the GitHub Pages branch, and then serve it on GitHub, which would be pretty awesome. Completely running in the browser. Okay, so now that we've got the basics, and we have some things like the runtime and the control flow graph stubbed out, let's figure out what we want to do here. So we had, I don't have it open anymore, compiler explorer. So we have basically a text box. This is a rich editor. I think we'll start with just a text box, a text area here. This is also a text area, sort of. Here, let's actually like dig down into, you know, what is, and get the developer tools up here. And nope. Let's mount it to the bottom. Okay, so there's this. So they got some divs, and they've got it in like grid. Of course, they have a slider, but a splitter between them. We're not going to do that at first. What I'm curious about is what is actually inside this editor. Oh, so is it Monaco? No, that Monaco is a typeface. I was going to say, is Monaco an editor? Yeah, I mean this looks like maybe Monaco is an editor. We don't need a rich editor for our first pass, but it is looking like. Okay, so there's a shadow root in there. Let's look at the down in here. Okay, that's the margin. Here's the scrollable. Yeah, this looks like the stuff created by a rich text editor widget. Okay, so like each line is a div, looks absolute positioned, or relative positioned at least. Okay, and then, you know, there's, that's interesting. It's like not actually any text in those. Maybe that's the highlighting. Yeah, view overlays. Let's look at this, view lines. Okay. Okay, so here's your actual code. It's in spans, and they've got different, you know, classes on them. So again, we're not going to do that. We are just going to do a text area to start. So let's think about our UI. And maybe we'll go through the Lustre. Where did it go? here. Let's just do this. Let's go through the quick start. So we've got our app, we've got Lustre added, we've done this. We've got dev tools. Okay, so now we can do this to stub out our to stub out, you know, some HTML. But we're gonna want to do this, right? So let's make a new module. Let's make a file a UI.gleam. Okay, so and let's move this stuff. Let's copy it for now, and we're going to put it here. And let's, rather than this, we're going to import EOC UI, and then we'll say UI.main. We'll just run that from there. That'll be the entry point where we put all of our stuff, and then we can make that messy and leave this a little bit cleaner. Okay, so save that, save that. Okay, so now we want to do something like this. So Lustre simple, you give it the init function, the update function, the view function, and that returns an app rather than it just being this static, you know, element thing. So let's import that stuff. Okay, so we're gonna do lustre.simple init update view. Okay, so now we need to define our init function. I'm going to define a model as, so they do an alias type here. I'm going to define this as we're going to have an input, which is a string, and we're going to have output. We'll start with that. And we'll start them with both empty strings. So that's our init. This is flags. We'll call it args just to be consistent. I have no idea what type that is. Okay, and then we're going to have type message, and this will be what we pass to our update function. So what are the things that can happen? So we can have input updated, and that'll contain a string. That's the only thing that we have right now. We could also have compile as an action taken, so like an on-click type thing. So we don't need Gleam int for now. And and that will do, like, let's say there's a button or something in our UI where you hit compile. Maybe we could have interpret as a button. Let's leave that off for now. Let's start with just compile. Okay, so we have an it. So update takes the model and the message, and then we'll just do case message. And if it's input updated, then this one is simple. We're going to do model and we'll just update that. And then compile. This is where we will enter our compiler, and I think that it's probably worth extracting what we were doing here into a function. So let's make a function, and this is going to take an input string, and it's going to return a result, and this is where we maybe need to enhance our enhance our model here, but we could just set the output to the stringification of the result. So the result should be it's going, what we want is program as text, right? So so string is the possible. Let's just do string and to string, because like we want to print out the error, right? Okay. So let's take so we're going to basically take this code, we're going to put it in here, except we're not going to do let assert because the user could type something that is wrong. So we're going to do use tokens. Let's see. Yeah. Result.try. Except we're going to need something other than result.try. Let's look at the standard lib. Because what we're going to want to do is have recovery. Or is it just map error? Okay, so we're going to do result.mapError. We're going to have to do this on all of these. Okay, we want parse tokens input. And this is we're going to use string. Let's import. We don't need Gleam IO. Let's import Gleam string. And yeah, I know there's a syntax error there. Okay, so we're going to use string.inspect. Basically, we're going to turn all of our errors into strings. We'll do that for now. And we're going to have to do this again. So let's copy that, and it's going to be program. And this is going to contain parse.parse tokens. And then we're going to have one more. We'll just use PT because that's what we were doing before. Oops. And this is going to be l.type check program. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're making sure that all of the errors come out as strings. And then this last one is not try, it's going to be map, because we want to pass all of our stuff through this. And this, I need to import Gleam result. Okay. Okay, I think we're good there. So at some point we will make a better error type here. But what I want to do is, since we have result of string or string, what we can do here is let's import EOC. Just, oops, do that. And then we're going to do EOC, and we're going to have to import some Gleam as well. Gleam result. We will do EOC.compile. And what's wrong here? Oh yeah, it's just complaining about that. EOC compile, and we're going to pass it model.input. And then we are going to result.unwrap both. So since they're both the error and the OK are strings, we can do that. And we'll say model, leave the input unmodified, and update the output. Awesome. So we haven't. Okay, so we need to break that cycle. Let's move this to its own file. Compile.gleam. Yeah, I didn't think about that. And then that means we can just do like so, and over here we can do EOC compile. Compile. And let's get all of this business up in here. Yeah, I know we don't have a view function. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, so view. If we're following along in here in the quick start guide, view just takes the model and returns an element type. I think we imported that. We did. Okay, containing message. So let's take our model, and it's going to return an element type with callbacks for triggering messages. So if we have let's import, we're going to need div text area. We're going to need button, right? Okay, so we're going to do this very, very basic. So we're going to start with a div, and we're going to have, we'll tweak the CSS later to make it look good, but let's do a text area. And note this takes a string, so what we want is model.input here. And we'll have another text area, which is model.output. And this one we're going to need like an on change. I think it is. And we're going to say input updated. Note that this is a constructor. Since on change takes a function which receives a string, you can use this constructor as the string, or as the function. I like that design. That's really nice. Okay, and then we're going to make a button, and we're going to say event.onClick compile. And this is going to have we're going to need text. Do we have that? Yep. Oh, this doesn't need to be pub. No, the rest of our functions are pub. Okay, so we have a duplicate import. Let's fix that real quick. Huh? Oh, it's in UI. Oh, yeah, we don't need to. Okay. So let's go back. So we've got two text boxes and a compile button. That's pretty awesome. Now we're gonna have to do a lot of work to make these look good, right? So let's start by seeing if the whole like end-to-end thing works. So I'm gonna type 5 and compile. And let's see if we got anything in the console. Okay, nil is not defined. Right, so we don't have a CFG. That's to be expected. Okay, so we have our first like interaction. We can tell that we can tell that this actually worked though, because it went here and it tried to call compile, and then it got down into here, and oh, you don't have, you can't build a CFG in the uncover live function because there is no implementation of it. Cool. All right, so one thing that is not clear to me yet, and we're going to figure out together, is what's the best way to do third-party libraries. Traditionally, I would probably use something like, you know, a JavaScript package manager like PNPM or something. but it's not clear to me how that works into the Gleam build tooling. So maybe let's go look at here. Let's go look at the Lustre repository, and I think that there's probably some stuff that okay, this is interesting. I love that commit message. Implement the mythical concrete virtual DOM. Okay, so they're referencing Gleam. Let's look at the build directory and like see what's going on here, because I think that there's some interesting stuff. Yeah, so look at the prelude. And like, okay, so there's Erlang files. Here's Lustre. Here's a Gleam. Okay, so it's basically export from Prelude. I wonder where that's done. Lustre runtime. Okay. The thing is, they're not really. They're not really pulling any third-party JavaScript libraries in. It's all Gleam, which is good. Okay, so this is interesting. It's minified, so it's not that useful to look at. Still all Gleam files. Maybe we could look at the examples. There's a tailwind config. So I think we'll want to do something like that for our CSS. I think the main thing I'm trying to figure out right now is if there's an example of bringing in a third-party library in JavaScript. There is not. I look at. Okay, that's like using your thing in npm. Let's look at Gleam library for working with virtual DOMs. So they have a package JSON. Okay, and they're putting Gleam dependencies in the package JSON. That's interesting. Rather than the, well, I imagine they're in the Gleam TOML as well. Yeah. And this is binding to JS DOM. So let's, yeah, this is good. This is a good example to look at. So let's see what they do. Let's see, JS DOM FFI. Okay, so I think if we make a package JSON and we the question is, do we need to build it from like this? Let's look at their build script. Sorry for the flipping around so fast. I wonder if this is copied from, I mean, this is a little old, 2021. I wonder if this is copied from somewhere. Yeah, look at that. Gleam compile package. Now, what we could start doing is, rather than specifying the target at the top level, we can, you know, specify it on the command line, probably. Let's make a new shell and see what we've got. Yeah. Yeah, so you can set the target to Erlang or JavaScript. Those are interesting, JavaScript and TypeScript preludes. Okay. I feel like what we need here is let's look at what they're doing here one more time. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Because I don't know that there's yeah, this is a bit old is the main problem. But it is interesting how they are just, you know, creating a package, an npm, you know, package description, and then they are have this build script around it. Let's just search the Gleam package for JavaScript and see if there's something that like binds to a third-party library that's not built into the browser runtime, right? Okay. The implementation of it, no. Okay, here's one that binds to PLv8, which is the Postgres. So let's look at their code. Okay, so that's kind of wild. So they have a package JSON. What do? They do Gleam run -m build. Okay, and they've got a build.gleam. All right, my apologies. Give me just a moment. My cat's having an asthma attack. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, so they've got some bindings to okay, so that's interesting. Bundle. So they've got some FFI files. What's okay? So okay, this is stuff exported by the compilation. And it looks like there's just this PLv8 global. That's really weird. They're not explicitly importing it. Okay, this is about bundling the SQL stuff. Oh, that PLv global is maybe this? No. Okay, maybe that's not the best example. Okay. JavaScript DOM parser. The thing is, this is like a built-in to the runtime. I have no idea what this is, but let's have a look. I have no. Oh, that doesn't exist. Okay, fun. Great. Yeah, repository FFO, 404s. So yeah, that didn't work so great. What I don't understand yet is like how we can So like you can see here that it's generating JavaScript output, and this is what gets built into this priv static file, right? What I'm not now, what we could do is potentially just put something in the priv static, which is our third-party module, our third-party package. Let's have one more look. So let's just search for JS instead of JavaScript. So this is, let's look at this. Bindings to a third-party library. 6 months ago, so this is more recent. Okay. So if we look at, so this is just a simple dependency thing. There's nothing in here that says, you know, here's this JavaScript dependency. There's not a thing. It's not a thing. Okay, so looking at this, it's just the sort of import that you would expect, right? What's not clear to me is, well, here, that like there's no scripts in here. I think they're saying you have to add it to your project. And then do Gleam add. So that's interesting. Yeah, I mean there's not much here, right? This is okay, that's kind of weird. So I think what we do is let's just use npm for now, and we're going to do npm add save. I think that's what they were suggesting. Npm install save. It might error, we'll find out. First, let's make sure I have a version of npm installed. It's not installed. Let's install node. And while that's going, I don't know that I have it still up here, but there was a graph library in JavaScript. So let's look at npm.js, npm. It's one of those days, folks. Luckily, it's a holiday weekend. Graph. It was not that one. It was ngraph. Yep. Was it though? No. No, graph layout, not graph layout. We don't need to do graph layouts. I wish I had saved that link. I used to have it up here. GraphLib, is this it? Yeah, that's why I jumped on Dogray, because I think it was this GraphLib. Directed multigraph. Yeah, we This is pretty well updated. Let's look at their... that's not... So they have a graph class. That's kind of what we want to do. And I want to make sure that what we... Okay, this is multi-graph, so like they're talking about nested graphs with like edges between subgraphs and things. We don't need that. Okay, so this will be like our so when they say predecessors, that's like in neighbors, and this is out neighbors. And neighbors is just any direction. This is out edges, right? We don't need to care. We don't care about that. Okay, so let's see if we can pull this one in, and okay, so I have node, which npm. Okay, I've got npm now. Okay, I'm going to do npm install save of Dagre.js graphlib. And I'm hoping what happens is it creates a package JSON and a package lock. Yeah, okay. So now the problem is it's in node modules. I don't know how we're going to get it. We're trotting unknown territory here, folks. So I think we need to do I need to ignore that for sure. Okay. And let's just clear that so we can get any other compilation things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say import graph. Oh, hey, look, it already picked it up. Of course, that's my editor being nice. That's not necessarily... Okay, so a new CFG returns a graph. Now, so for add vertex, we're going to have a G and V. And we're not using TypeScript here, so there's no types on this. But what we can do is we can say G dot let's look at the graph. What are they doing? Oh, okay, it just makes that as the export. So Yeah, we don't care about what the label is for this node. What is this default node label function? Oh, undefined. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll just do g dot set node v and return g. Note that what we have to follow the contract that we defined in here, and that we are always returning the graph, even though under the covers we're mutating it. And we did the same with the Erlang one, which was using digraph, which is in ets, which is external state. So, all right, let's hide you. I don't think that this will work, but we need to try it. Okay. Let me get this over here so we can make sure we follow the contract. So add edge takes the graph v1 and v2, and we're always returning the graph. So we're going to do we're going to do set edge. So it's did we do this automatically backwards, or no? We did it forwards. In the implementation we did it forwards. In the caller we inverted the arrows, so I don't think that we need to worry about that. So let's do set edge v1 v2. All right. So now we get to the fun stuff. So we have right. So this is getting the keys. So in neighbors is predecessors. Yeah, these are basically like when you add an edge, it's updating both the. It's like an adjacency list type of, or not an adjacency list, but you know, it's keeping all of the edges in both ends of the arrow, right? So what we want is we want to return predecessors. This is G and V. And here we want dot successors of V. And this is G and V. Okay, I don't know that this is going to work. You know, our needs are pretty modest here, but there's also a question of, do I know what the heck I'm doing with this FFI? I think the answer is no. But let's kill that and restart it. So I guess we'll find out some stuff. Okay, so we have a problem with uncover live and analyze data flow. So it looks like it's getting somewhere, but what I want to do here is I'm going to add some debugging stuff in here. And so we're going to say add vertex. And we'll do add edge v1 v2. I want to see what's being called in here, and then here this is going to produce like massively complicated output on the console, but we need to see it. So except it's not printing anything. So analyze data flow loop inside fold 2. There's a make error. So let's look at our code here. Uncover live, analyze data flow loop. There's a fold. Pattern match failed, no. The thing is, though, this is not minified, so we can go look at the code. Okay, so make error is just, that's a built-in. Okay. Let's look at this. Okay, so this is a let assert. So we've got an in neighbors call here. Do we have a bug in our compiler? Is that what this is? Interesting that these folds get turned into while loops in JavaScript. That's kind of cool, actually, because there is no tail recursion. All right. The interesting thing to me is that we are not getting any of this printed to the console. I mean, it could be that I just need to rebuild or whatever, but this comes down to our FFI not working. And I'm not getting these printed out at all. Here, let's clear. Okay, make sure we're not looking at old errors. Shoot, that's not what I wanted to do. Console, here, compile. Okay, so now we got something different. That's interesting. So here, we might need to get some styling in here. So we actually have a compilation, or we have a syntax error there. Let's try that. Now we're getting that again. Let's do plus 5, 2. So for some reason we're not getting here in Uncover Live, this assert is failing. I'm going to make a debug function. And it'll just take a list of strings, and I'm not going to return anything. And we want the equivalent thing for Erlang. It's probably IO. No, Erlang IO. Thank you. Let's do IO right. Okay, so let's do export function debug console.debug arguments. Okay. So now over here, where was it? Uncover live. So what we can do here is we can call runtime debug, and we're going to say fetching mappings for, and then say pred. And then let's look at the console over here. We'll clear it out. Here, run a refresh real quick. It doesn't print. Something's funky going on there. Yeah, for whatever reason, this is getting completely yeah, I can't even get any. Maybe what I could do is rather than trying to do this from the Gleam side, I think what I can do is set breakpoints. So like, let's go here and let's set a breakpoint there. Okay, so now we can look at, so pred is undefined. Okay, so here, this is probably the source of the problem. That what is pipe 1 value? Okay, let's put another breakpoint here. Let's just run and let it crash. Okay, +7 or +40 and 2. Okay, do the classic example. Okay, so here, so underscore pipe is a graph. We've got, so it is binding to that correctly. That's interesting. Okay, so let's step over that and let's see what the value of pipe underscore 1 is. Just conclusion. Okay. I guess the problem here is that this is an array and not a Gleam list. I think that's probably the issue here. We're still not getting our console debugs. So let's just kill that business. Not helpful. Okay, so here state is a set. Excuse me. Okay, so these are like Gleam types. Okay, so I think the answer here is that we are returning a JavaScript list or JavaScript array, and what we need is a Gleam list. So I think we need to call this toList function that I'm seeing in places. Let's look for toList. Okay, so we can do list from array. Okay. So that's on us. I'm not sure if we can do that, but we'll give it a try. And then we'll do something similar down here. All right. So let's no. Can I clear all breakpoints? This is skip all breakpoints, I think. Okay, let's delete that and delete that. Aha! It works! Okay, so this is a dumb one, obviously. But we've got a full thing there, and it went through all the passes. Okay, so let's do something a bit more complicated, and oh, that's funky. So let's do let x5 plus x7. Okay. Looks like our patch instructions could be a little bit more aggressive on that. Yeah. Pretty good though. So what if we did what if we did one of the examples from the book? Something more complicated, like, you know, the while loops like we've been doing previously. We've got lots like blocks created and stuff like that. Let's do this one. This one's a bit crazy. Oh, we got a problem there. I think we just got a syntax issue. Let's do like this example. Okay, so I mean, this one is not really sophisticated, but we can see some different stuff going on here. You know, we've got multiple registers being used. Where's that sum of 5 numbers example in here? Here we go. This is what we want. Okay, so this is our loop that we've been compiling on previous episodes. So this is, you know, we're setting sum to 0 and I to 5, and then we jump into the beginning of a loop, and then we're comparing RCX, which is I, with 0, and if it's greater than, we jump to block 2. If it's otherwise, we jump to block 1, which is the end, and there's our conclusion, and so forth. So this is good. Let's spend the last 20 minutes and make this look a lot better. Let's see here. So now, like, that is a thing, that is a trap I did not realize, is that the implementation of lists in Gleam is not JavaScript arrays. It's something else. It's its own type. So you have to be careful with that. Okay. Now we've got a lot of that settled. Let's go back to our UI, which is the whole point of this little side quest, is to make pretty things. And for now, I'm gonna hide this, and we're gonna get this kind of split to where we can see things. So I want to see about adding Tailwind so we can style this business. So installation, let's just do npm install Tailwind CSS. I think that's what we'll do. We're not bothering with Vite. The other thing we could do is just pull it in from the CDN. That might be easiest. Okay. So let's open the index HTML. And it says uncomment this if you want to use the Tailwind CSS integration. Let's go back to the Lustre guide because I think that there's, and I have closed it. Okay, so quick start. Let's see. Spa deployments. Look at the quick start guide. Oh, this is interesting. We may need to make use of this, but your update function on Lustre can have effects. So this is sort of like, it's like monadic. You're defining, you know, side effects that need to happen outside of the update cycle. Okay. Maybe we can look at examples. Inputs. Controlled inputs will be interesting. Let's see what we do there. Except we're using a text area, not an input. But there's a Tailwood config here. I wonder what we need to do. Let's see, basics, inputs, effects, application, reusable components. Like there's one thing that's not clear to me is like there's a lot of, I don't want to say hand waviness, but let's see if there's some examples that are more like directly using Lustre UI is like pre-built components, which is kind of cool. But we need to know there's no index.html in here because it's not an app. Look at the dev tools and see maybe there's something in here. Oh, okay, so we can do this. That's what we wanted to do. I'm glad I read that. So Gleam run Lustre dev, add Tailwind. Okay, so now we can do this business in the index HTML. And if we look at project tree, we should have this in there. Yeah, so this is the Tailwind CSS. Not minified at all. It doesn't look like they added a Tailwind config in here. That's okay. I want to restore. We're going to remove those debugs because we're not using them anymore. I should have just used, the JavaScript debugger from the beginning, because that actually works. Okay. It'd be interesting to see what this does. So build app. Is it in here? Right, so because I would really love to know how it finds my node modules that I've defined, or if it just goes, hey, they're right here. So there's a .lustre directory. Okay. Well, we've got the Tailwind business now. So let us look back at like their examples. So there's attributes, so we need to import that. Oops. Let's hide the project browser again. Okay, so over here we need to import Lustre attribute, and we want class, or is it classes? All right, so what I want to do here is do class, and this takes one string. We don't need to toggle things on and off, so we're not going to use classes yet. Let's do class. This is going to be flex. Flex. Let's look back at the Tailwind docs if I got them up. Okay. So layout. Yeah, we just want flex. Although we probably want the flex direction. Flex item horizontally. Yeah, let's go flex row. Okay, and then this is going to be class flex. We probably want to do something like let's make an outer div that is not going to have anything except it's going to have this one in it, and we'll move the button outside. And this will be like we'll probably want to make that look prettier, but this what we want is for these things to here, we're going to put a gap 2 in there. Okay, and this is going to be flex, no wrap. Well, we could have it wrap normally, and then specify some width, like some dimensions on these with utility classes for that. So yeah, I think we want to do width 1/2 on both of these. Class flex width 1/2. And let's do a min height. Let's try min height 1/2. I don't know if that's going to make sense, but we will do it. Okay. All right. And then for the button, let's give it rounded corners, and we'll start with that. All right, let's have a look at our thingy. Okay, I messed it up. So this is, this is fine. We're gonna have to add a lot more stuff to the button to make it look right. and to those. So let's on these. I wonder if we remove this flux class. All right, let's do. We're not going to want rounded on these, but we do need a border. And my editor's not helping here. Like normally when I'm doing React stuff with work, it's like, oh yeah, I know all about Tailwind. But here it just doesn't know that we're using Tailwind. So okay, so we'll do border 1. And border. Oh, that's the default thing. If you just say border, okay. And let's do, pick a color. Let's do that for now. And I'm going to copy this stuff into here. Okay, so that is really faint. Let's make it 300. Okay, that's slightly better. Another thing that I do at work is use some pre-built components, and I would have to, like, for instance, go and look at what Shadcn does if we were to do something like, you know, crib from their component styles. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Let's see. I don't want those. I would prefer them to be side by side. Yeah, now they're side by side. Yeah, okay. We need a. We need some space off of the top there. All right. Let's look back at Lustre. What I want to see is this attributes module, because there are a bunch of attributes in here that we can make use of. So, like for text areas, we might need to look at MDN text area and see what the valid attributes are. Okay, so rows and columns, yeah. One thing that we might want to do here is make a function that makes these text areas consistent. So I don't know, code component. And this is going to be attrs list of attribute. Okay, so what we can do here is let's say text area, and we'll do, let's pull in this stuff. And this is like, we need body is a string. Attrs. Okay, so let's so we'll say code component, and this is going to take we're going to put the on change in there. Oops. Model.input. I just want to make these consistent so that when I'm tweaking their styles, I don't have to update both of them. Okay. And stuff like this. We're going to do attribute.autocomplete. Off. On this one, we want to do attribute.readOnly. True. The other thing is we want to be able to say resize none on these. Not that useful for right now, but resize none would be good for consistency. And maybe that's something we can let's have a look at our thing. Okay, so now we can't resize them. It kind of sucks. because they're not the right height. But we can fix that. Let's just say width 1/2, height 1/2. And now they wrap. That kind of sucks. Maybe let's look back at those utility classes and see which one will work for height. Just try height full. Padding 3. That's probably too much. Let's do px3 py1. Okay. And we need to pick a border color for this button. Or the other thing we could do is we could pick a background color. Let's try that. I have no idea if that's going to be any good. No, it's hideous. Okay. So I think there's some interesting business with the text areas that we need to deal with. We need to make sure, first of all, that their fonts are not wrong. So we're going to do font mono. And I'm going to see again with the height if I can do. Can I just do size max on those? I don't know if that's going to make the difference that I want. Let's say like high, oops. we'll want the carrot black on here so that we can get, we could like pick another color too, but okay, so this is actually a class. Of course it is. Of course it's a utility class. I think I'm at the point where I want to use classes instead of class. Maybe not. Okay, we'll say resize none. Or we could say resize Y, and that would let it, we can adjust that. I wonder if we need this field sizing fixed. That drop shadow looks nice on the button. Still not like, I'm still not really happy with that button, but I think it's probably a good time to call it. There's a lot of stuff that I need to learn here about how to properly style these things with Tailwind. Obviously, like, you know, I can just slap things on here. It's just CSS is always a game of what are the interactions, and if you're not in that day to day, it can be really confusing about what to do next. So I think this is a good place to stop, and we will maybe try to wrap this up, get a better design in here. But I think what I'm really proud of is that we were able to, you know, just write a program and have it print out the contents, which I think is pretty awesome. What we could do next time is we need to improve the interactions here. So if you change the input, we probably need to keep errors separately. I know we have result unwrap both here, but we can probably go like do a pattern match on this and update like errors separately from the text, and if you update the input, then maybe we can do something like auto compile or clear, not just you know, keep track of this. So that's probably what we'll do next time. Make this look a lot prettier, make the interaction work a lot better. Maybe we can even get rid of the compile button and just go be updating the output at all times. That would be pretty cool. All right, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time.